So I'm Joe England. I'm the Executive Director of the Vectorform Game Studio.
I'm Eric Haver. I'm with Microsoft Surface.
Okay.
I'm Philip Scotland. I'm an interactive developer at Vectorform.
Okay, and you're showing off the new Settlers of Catan game on Surface,
Yes.
which obviously very excited about. So show us a little bit about the game here.
Okay, so I want to start off with the how to play. So imagine you come into one of these public spaces and you don't know how to play Catan. And we give you a nice quick overview of the game. You know, not too in-depth on the strategies, but kind of how the game works, how the mechanics work on the surface. For instance, with these ghosted fingers, tell you how to do things. We even have the game rules here, if you maybe are a little familiar and you want to check out some of the rules. What's going on? Okay, I'm moving my finger. You know, check out some of the rules, things like that. Anyways,
Oh, you hit the end. And it
I
goes
did.
back.
Yeah, right. So the rules are pretty simple. So let's go back to the main menu. Now we're gonna start continue a game that's already been in progress. Okay, we have a save game, right? Okay. So this is a game where we've been playing a while. You know, there are a couple things to know. You can tell that here are the player pods. All right. What we try to do here is try to keep the feel of the analog version of the game, but make it digital. So we still have the cards. Okay, we have these player pods that are not fixed locations. It's one of the tenets of Surface, 360-degree UI. So, for instance, the pizza comes and I got to move over. I can move my whole space over. All right, but we try to keep that analog feel. And right now, it's your turn. So we have a couple ways you can look at your cards. For instance,
Okay.
you know,
I was going to ask, how do you flip a card?
So you can shield other people from seeing your cards, and we have a flip card button. Shows you what you have. Okay. You know, we have these dice that are pure virtual dice. So this is how you could play Catan if there were no physical objects.
Okay.
Right. But then we harness the power of the Surface. One of its unique attributes is its ability to recognize real-world objects. So, for instance, we have a bunch of these visors here that help shield your cards from other people and act like an X-ray on your cards. So, as you play with your visor, you can see what you have without other people seeing what you have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily flip it; you just put the visor across it.
Yeah, just
and
put the visor across it,
you.
and you look, and you know we've made some changes to the game a little bit where we have the legend down there, those little icons there, so you don't have to show everybody what you have.
Looks like I'm loaded with wood, guys. So if you want to do a trade, let me know.
Who's got sheep?
So, and I think one of the things is, you know, when they built this application, one of the great things about Surface is that social aspect in Catan as well, is that you're talking to each other, you're trading with each other. And the nice thing about having these objects here, you don't have to have your hand down the entire time. You can see what you have, and you're focusing on each other, versus if you had like a phone or something else to kind of pull aside and see your cards.
From that together experience. See, that's the thing about the Surface.
Everything's on the board game, right?
And we're all together, and we're all connected, talking to each other together, instead of maybe on my phone over here doing some things. And it's really different from the analog version. We find that actually a digital version, when we showed this at Origins in Columbus, Ohio, we find that people come up to the Surface and look at Catan, and they want to play Catan with other people. You know, if you go to an analog version where people have their cards and they're kind of like this with their cards, people can't interact with you, right? Those are your cards, or his cards. I'm not going to touch them; they're private. But here we get people come on by and say, "Oh, okay, that's pretty nice," you know.
Yeah.
Ooh, we should do that type of thing, right? Because they can see it. And like we said, we try to keep that whole analog feel, so we can do things.
Show me how you like put a road on, or
Sure.
I'll give you some clay
give
here
him some
and
clay,
see maybe if that can help you.
Right.
Well, actually, do you have wood?
No, he's got tons of wood.
Okay.
And so, as Philip is showing you, that very natural, right?
just as you would expect, just draw it out with your finger and place it where you want to place
The
it.
nice thing is that as he was going across there, it kind of aligns itself to where it could go. And the same thing when you're putting up buildings, it kind of highlights the different sections to tell you where where you're aligned with and where it's possible for you to go.
Let's
Anybody load them up.
Anybody have an oar?
Yes.
All right, let's load them with an oar. Okay, one oar. All right. So we're going to show you kind of. So
show your hand.
That's fine. I'm a transparent player typically.
Actually, do we have he needs sheep. Let's give him a sheep as well. Okay, we'll do a settlement. So again, with the roads, you're just kind of going around. Oh, that's going to screw it up. Let's not do that. So with the settlement, as Eric was saying, when we find a spot that we can play it on, notice how the hexes highlight. Okay, showing you that if you placed it here, you would get those benefits. And so very natural again.
Takes the cards,
puts
puts
the
them
cards
in there.
Yep, and then upgrading.
So it automatically takes my cards out of the pile?
Yeah,
okay.
so it reduces a lot of the micromanagement you have to do with an analog game. Like putting it away pieces. We can do this, and the pieces don't go flying all over the place, and there's an argument where that settlement.
Well, just setting the board in Catan is a difficult,
Right, exactly.
difficult challenge.
Getting all these randomized
Yes.
and then getting everything lined up. Yeah.
So again, with the cities, if I put a city there, it highlights those hexes. I can put your city here. Oh, that's already a city. I can put it city here. We'll put it over here. That's probably the best move.
And you saw the trading that we did in giving you those resource cards was just very natural. There was no, like, you hit this button and you start this wizard that goes into this. It was just, we handed those across. So all that conversation that's going on and the negotiation it's something you do, right? And it's
So
not
the-
detracted
So the
from.
player is still very involved in the game. It's not like an AI could play this. It's a very player centric game still, because we wanted to maintain the feel of the analog version, but make it a digital version so you get a lot of benefits of the digital version. So what I just did is I turned off the dice, and you've done enough already. Honestly.
Show one thing is the bank. It tells you what you can trade. In terms of if you had a number of cards and you didn't want the robber to take them away, but it also shows you what's available, and then when you're done with this and you just throw it at the side, it automatically aligns itself and kind of moves off to the side, so you don't have to worry about this little tiny placement and things like that you have to do.
Right, and we have a few hints on the player board, because even if you're a veteran Catan player, sometimes you forget, but we don't want like building cost cards and all this stuff to take over the board, so we do things like this. There's your building cost card. You could look at it. And when you're done, you just kind of put it away, and we're not eating the board with that
If
space.
it's not your turn, you can take this one out and look at it, and then just kind of shove it away when you're done.
So what
Show the
special?
dice.
Yeah, show the dice. Show the dice.
All right.
I was asking about that.
All right, so we'll end your turn. No, I already did.
Yeah, you
We're all
got it.
good. We're all good. So take the dice,
Yep.
warm them up a little bit, and roll it. And roll a 5.
So he switched in the options to move between the analog dice and the digital dice.
So you make the choice whether you want to do analog.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's a game configuration. So the nice thing is you can play with your hand in front of these without the pieces, without the dice, and if you have these implements, you can play with them and enhance the experience.
Right.
But it's kind of like when you do a digital board game. If you lose one of these roads, you run out of roads, you have a hard time playing.
Right.
You don't want that to ruin the experience, right?
Right, exactly.
And so tell me, what does the game do when there is a winner and you declare the Lord of Catan?
Well, we'd love to get to that point, and what happens is we give you a list of all the stats that happened in the game. We actually show you in the leaderboard. We have a bunch of messages, things like who lost the most resources, who was slowest, who spent the most time. There's a lot of statistics that the real Catan player really loves to see. Every Catan implementation has those statistics at the end. This is no different. We definitely have a lot of those, and we should play a full game.
Yeah, I'm ready. So thanks.
Before you sign off, I just want to show you one other thing, because people might question this. Dice is always a popular topic. These are real dice. So when each side is tagged with a unique code, and so it knows which is down, which is up, and can tell what you rolled. And if you look through the top of the die, you can see what's actually sitting on that die. Right. This stays the same because this is what you rolled. You want to lock in on that. You don't want somebody turning over the die and saying, "No, I actually rolled a 3."
Right.
And so, but it's really kind of a cool implementation. We could use opaque dice with the dots on them and everything, but Surface, you want to enhance that experience, just like these visors has that kind of X-ray. It really gives that kind of extra added fun that you can't get out of a normal board game, but keeps the board game fun.
Exactly.
So.
Great. Well, thanks for showing it to us, guys.
Sure.
All right.